Writing especially is very unique. I think there's very few courses in high school that are research level in the way AP Seminar is, where you research a topic and it's essentially up to you to find your own sources. Because usually the information is given to you and you just memorize it or you repeat it or you use it in some way. But AP Seminar like puts the ball in your court and you have to learn how to play ball.
I remember my first semester freshman year, I was taking English 2, and he gave us a paper and it was like it could be about anything. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, whatever, like, and I did the same exact method that I use in AP CAPS seminar and AP research. And it didn't take me long. It took me like less than 2 days to do it. And when I submitted, the professor was like, oh, this is great. This is amazing.
I feel like the one thing I definitely came away with was knowing how to write.
Taking those skills of writing to use it for applications, or that elaboration to use for college applications, I thought was very important. And that's something that I remember me and some of my other classmates were using together.
Luckily, I'm taking a writing course this year, and it's sounded very similar to Capstone. And even she was asking questions about like what goes in an essay, and no one was really talking. I was like, claim, quote, and analysis. And she's like, be still my beating heart. I said, yes, I got this in the bag.
Freshman year, I came in and we would have taken like a writing class or like a how to write, but I came in already with those skills, which was great. Like
for me, yeah, I think it was definitely just like a direct transition, especially because for my major, like in public relations and advertising, like you have straight classes that are just learning how to write, and I feel like seminar really set me up for success in that point, because you're writing in a much more analytical, like straightforward way, whereas in like English classes you're writing about the books you just read, or I don't know, like how did the author convey this and that, and that's like you learn things from that. Like I'm not saying you don't, but like in a major where it's like you just gotta write straightforward and to the point, I feel like seminar really taught you that.
It really does, like I'm gonna keep saying it, but it really does prepare you for college, because the amount of papers that, I'm not saying I didn't struggle on, but the amount of papers that this was so easy for me to just continue on, that whereas I'm hearing other people talk about how some of them, they want to drop a class because it's just so much work and it's so much that they don't understand. And when they're getting their papers back, the teachers really aren't understanding why these kids aren't up to a certain level with citations, with putting references. So I feel as though it did transform me to become a better writer.
I feel like it engaged my critical thinking more, and also it allowed me to like think about things in like a different perspective and like write about things that interest me.
Writing papers and conducting research, which is why I chose the psychology route with my like further school. Every time I would complete something, I would just remember what the Snoop would say, and then I would just use that to guide my academic experience.
And some of the skills I learned from seminar of how to give like a clear presentation and how to design like a slide deck, so invaluable. I remember in my capstone in undergrad, I was like looking through our slides and I had to tell my team, there's too much text, we gotta get rid of it. And then like I would update it and I would make it so it's just mostly images and be like, guys, we just have to like remember what we have to say. We can't be staring at the screen. I remember that was a really big thing. And then now in my first semester for my master's degree, I had to give a presentation on like a design of a location-based experience. And that was another big like team presentation. And I had to like help my team say like, okay, guys, we can't stare at the screen. So even though you think it's like just a high school thing, it doesn't stop. Even like in this master's degree program, and these people that have been in school for like 4+ years, these are things that you can help like your peers with too. I'm continuing to use these skills and also helping my peers with like passing this knowledge down as well.
Something that
I've really used a lot in college. Like many of my professors have even told me personally that these are skills that they don't see students having a lot of the time. So they've commented saying that the skills in presentation were really strong. They enjoyed looking at presentations I made myself or with groups I was a part of.
And my presentation skills, because in life it's all about presenting. Like we're always presenting, our class is always having you go up and speaking to people, and in this course we had our presentations, so that's definitely helped me prepare what's to come. Here, find your information, and that's that. And I feel like a lot of my peers are struggling because they don't know how to do it, because not a lot of them took a course like this.
But being able to speak in an academic space and like having the skill of being able to present and being able to present in a knowledgeable way, like I'm not just standing there like bumbling over my words, it makes you sound more clear spoken and like you sound more eloquent, especially when you're talking to people who are influential, like professors or like heads of department. And it helps you build connections just because of that, because they're like, oh, like this person really knows what they're talking about. Like they know how to express themselves, especially when you're talking about, it doesn't even matter what you're talking about, especially when you're talking about things in your major with other people in your major. Just the fact that you know how to express the things you know helps you a lot.
Like, especially because I'm applying, well, I've already applied for like summer internships at labs and stuff like that. Like they really familiarize us with this idea of the 30-second pitch, that you only have 30 seconds to be clear, concise, and be able to like present an idea to somebody that actually interests them. And although we didn't do anything specifically 30 seconds during capstone, it's like being able to speak without stumbling over yourself and actually like give somebody, like capture them like with an argument in that period of time. I just feel like that's something that's definitely been very important as I was applying for these labs.
I think that that's one of the highlights of AP Capstone, because like compared to your traditional classes where professors or teachers give you that information, you're like, oh, okay, I take this information, study this information while do a test. This was an opportunity for real dialogue. And that's what happens in real life. Someone gives you ideas and you go back and forth like, oh, but I think this would be better. And you're like, oh, this thing, oh, I didn't think of that. I'm going to add that to this idea. So like having that dialogue in terms of your ideas, more people's ideas, and just taking that to form a full-fledged like project or proposal or sort of like presentation. And it comes into like that initial brainstorming, that conversation, that dialogue that you have. And I think that's very important because it allowed me to be in a space where we can present our ideas.
But I feel like being able to have conversations about the literature, like conversations going on, that's what I'm trying to say. With like my mentor, who was my mentor for a summer program, and she's now my advisor now for my PhD. Being able to have those type of like conversations at like young age was like what I think set me apart for my PhD program. And for wanting to recruit me for PhD for undergrad. And so I think that helped me.
I think communication, and not only being able to communicate our thoughts and our research to you, because in that we were the expert in our topic. We were going to you to say, okay, this is what I want to do. Not only being able to communicate that way, but also being able to communicate, hey, I'm struggling. I need help. I need an extension. Just communicating and being able to speak up for yourself, because especially now, we are our own advocates.
It just makes me comfortable engaging in conversation with people in a more confident way. I think just being able to carry conversation with people, I used to be a bit more timid, and I think just being able to develop on those skills I had in AP seminar actually translated to me being able to have like good workplace relationships, just communicating with people.
Do not procrastinate.
I would tell them not to procrastinate. That's the biggest mistake I made. I'm a chronic procrastinator.
Don't procrastinate.
My huge procrastination issues, like I gave you so much stress with that. My procrastination was crazy. Like, oh my gosh, you don't even know. And like going back, it doesn't make sense why I procrastinated so much. So I would tell my past self, don't do that. Don't do that.
I would say it did help me with my time management. I feel like I used to be a bit of a person who tended to procrastinate a bit.
But it was bad for me because I didn't know how to manage my time. And so it forced me to like learn how to manage my time.
The first thing that came to my mind was like time management, having specific deadlines. Like my entire life, I have been academically successful, but a huge procrastinator.
Time management.
One other skill that I found helpful was time management, because when it came to like making sure I was in charge of my own progress on projects, it really made me responsible. I can't waste time with what's been given. Like, use it wisely to get everything done.
You mentioned that procrastination is like a big thing.
Yeah.
But like people saying don't procrastinate. But I feel like especially in seminar and capstone, everyone in the class at some point, doesn't matter when it is, they're gonna procrastinate. And it's gonna reach a point where you do need to save yourself and say, hey, this is what's going on, I need help. So like, don't procrastinate, but it's gonna happen. Like, you know it's gonna happen.
I think AP Capstone like encouraged me to keep holding on to what's to come in the future. Like, I guess continue to have hope through it, even in the times where I was like, man, I feel like so dumb right now about this, you know? So I think that is another skill I think has helped me get through like last semester specifically.
I think it was mostly when I'm conducting any sort of research and it's like a pushback of like questions of like, oh, but why did you do that? Or like, why didn't you think of that? And then at first I was like, oh, wow, maybe. But then my mentor, he was saying how like, if I give feedback or critical feedback, it's not because it's like picking at you or anything, but because I see the potential that you have to continue forward in your ideas. And that's the same thing with AP Capstone. You see a potential and idea a student has, and so you sort of give them all of these reasons, like, why not this, or like, why didn't you think of this, or doing that and that, to get them to think of all different aspects of what they're doing, because it shows that not only do you care about their project, but you want to see that the student also cares. And it's something that they really want to do based off of how they quote unquote fight for it or think of it a different way, and then present another idea from like that conversation initially.
I feel like if I hadn't like had Capstone, which kind of like pushed me to like come out of my shell a lot, I feel like I would have struggled a lot more to be able to be accustomed to like advocating for myself in college and like doing presentations like in front of like a good number of people too, because there's a lot bigger classes here, and so it can be a bit more nerve-wracking, but I found it a lot easier to be able to present in front of a larger number of people than if I had never had the experience.
Honestly, college, my job now, you know the presentation that's behind you. So just being fully confident, hopefully if the technology is working, knowing that your audience understands what you're saying, if you're trying to get a point across or convince somebody of something, you know, that's something that you want to be confident. If you're not confident, the audience isn't going to be confident in what you're saying. So that's something, once again, very invaluable, that it gave you that jump start in high school. I feel like a lot of people don't get that start until college, honestly.
I think like one of the main skills I learned from your class was like how to remain calm in high pressure situations, because for me, public speaking was always a really high pressure situation, and it really just translated into those kinds of life skills and just general being confident in myself and interacting with other people.
I feel like it definitely strengthened my ability to be able to like not be scared to like go and ask a professor a question or to get to know them a bit. Like there's a professor who's like the director as well of the criminology department, and I made a connection with her like after I took her class, and now she's kind of like a mentor to me. So I meet with her occasionally to catch up, and like she gives me advice. She gave me a connection to a possible internship I may get this summer. So I'm hoping that works out. But I think it's really like helped me like be able to form connections with like professors and not be scared to like ask questions.
I feel like AP Capstone, like the whole program, that was like the only thing I think I remember taking from high school, period. In high school, I didn't like high school because it was very a lot of things that we had to do. So AP Capstone, both seminar, the projects for seminar and AP research, really put me in like the driver's seat at like an age and in a space where you're told that you are supposed to like just know this and know that. It put me in the driver's seat of like my own education, and I get to decide like what I want to learn and how I want to study it. And I think that gave me a lot of like independence of thought that was, I think, yeah, again, very much needed for undergrad.
But being confident enough in my speaking skills and all the training that was pretty much engraved during seminar, it was more comfortable for me to get back out there, whether it be presenting to other people or interacting with people in your groups and stuff back in school. It did help, and it eliminated that hesitation that I saw some other classmates or colleagues have. So.
I did have some papers here and there, and it definitely made those a lot easier. I feel like I knew where to get my sources from, really just where to start, and I think that's what slows a lot of people down, is not knowing where to start at all. I think that's a very good skill to have, because like I just said, some people don't know where to start. Some people don't know how to collaborate with others. I think the course prepared me very well at that, just like team management and working with others, just hearing other voices, knowing that everyone's perspectives and ideas are going to be different, and that's okay.
I think like one of the biggest things with like feeling comfortable and like not, or like feeling challenged is like, oh, like it feels like you're gonna be there forever, but like I think knowing like, oh, I've been there before, like it's gonna be okay. Like I just need to take it one step at a time and like trug through it and like move forward and do these kinds of things, I think is like one of the most helpful mindsets that I've like thankfully been able to develop, that I'm really grateful for, because it's like there's never a day without a challenge here at MIT, and so it's like just knowing that like you take a step forward and like every day you move forward and like it's gonna be okay, and like you're gonna get through it and you're gonna like be successful in whatever you're trying to do.
High school, I think, is a time that's very centered around regurgitating information a lot. Your science courses teach you about what the world is biologically. Your history courses teach you about the way the world has been, and your English courses teach you about the way the world could be. AP Seminar is, I think, unique from all of those courses.
I wanted to say that I think it made me okay with like starting things over, or like not getting something right the first time. Because here, I feel like in college, like even like having to retake a class like over the summer, or just like doing something over again, it made me like being okay with the fact that sometimes you do have to do that, that you're not going to get it right or perfect the first time.
A lot of times at MIT, there's a push, like everyone wants to be at the cutting edge. Everybody wants to be at like the very tip, but it's like there's like it's like there's hardly conversations about like the reasons for why these things are like happening. It's like, oh, we're just trying to push the boundaries, which is great, and it's like, okay, it's cool, and it's like you're innovating, but like at the same time it's like, what is the purpose of technology? Like it's the purpose is to help people, and so it's like if we are not implementing these things in a way that's actually helpful to people and like destroys like their lives, or like that it's important to be able to kind of like think about those kinds of implications, think about those ideas, and like I think that's helped, like Capstone, like the kinds of things that I've done like have helped me think about those kinds of things and think about the broader implications and be more intentional about the kinds of things that I'm working on, the kinds of projects, the kinds of research that I've been doing.
Everything about high school is so narrow-minded, and like you don't get the like chance to just think like we said, think outside the box, but like even think in like multiple perspectives. And it's so important. Like when you get out, it's like the idea of like perspectives that we explored in Capstone can be applied to so many things. And it's like so important in every field, because really thinking one way, there's always a reason why. And if there's a reason why, there's usually some sort of like other idea behind that reason why. And so being able to like analyze something through multiple ways of viewing it is just an overall like skill I know I'm definitely gonna use it for the rest of my life.
My God, I guess it made me like less scared like to approach people, especially because we had to like work in groups, and sometimes we would like rotate groups, and I would just have to like talk to different people about like their subjects. And the one time you had us like stand up and introduce our topics to everyone, so everyone in the class knew what we were working on, I guess it just made me like, if I see a random person, or even if it's just like something minuscule, like, oh, I like their outfit, like I'll just walk up to them and say that. Like it made me way more like socially like able to talk to people.
It helped me to, one, look at things from a different perspective, because obviously when you're reading things, you're not really thinking from the author's perspective, how they analyze things, how they researched essentially, how they looked for data, how they found the participants, things like that. And so with this class, I had to reframe my thinking, I would say.
Research capacity from like 0 to another level. I definitely didn't know how to research before taking AP seminar and before taking AP research. And I felt like afterwards I did. I just had this new skill in my back pocket that at the time I didn't think was that big of a deal. But I distinctly remember talking to my freshman year roommate about like trying to advise her on what to do for her own classes, and being like, wait girl, like no, you should do this, and then you do this, and then like this is the order that I recommend doing things in. She's like, how do you know how to do all this? I'm like, let me tell you.
Where it was like a freedom to have these like discussions in those spaces, because like a lot of times you're kind of siloed into like what the right perspective is, even in like the language classes where it's like, oh, there's like different perspectives, but it's like, okay, you're like this one or this one, and it's like, and but like I think with Capstone, it's like it's not just different perspectives, but it's like there's, I guess out of the box is kind of cliche, but it really does push you to like think like this is not makes you think out of the box, and makes you like think about your life in a way where it's like, oh, you kind of have autonomy on the kinds of things that you are able to do. Yeah, I think the like having like different perspectives and your own perspectives were really encouraged, and I appreciated that.
I was astonished at the way the things I had learned in AP Seminar had directly translated. I think people get the misconception that writing courses and public speaking courses like AP Seminar are only useful if you're going to be a public speaker, if you're going to be an author. I'm sitting in an interview with an MD PhD who knows all this fancy science, and I have to present my perspective on why I think I can contribute and what I hope to learn. And that is a very personal thing, and that's a very critical thinking based skill. So it's been incredibly helpful there.
Well, I feel like I became a lot more responsible because of it. It's a class where you have to you're in charge of your grade. You have to stay on top of it to do good in the class. So it forced me to no longer, just do things when I need to in the moment, kind of think ahead a little bit.
College will do it in the work field as well. If you don't know how to analyze your market, if you don't know how to be able to understand the full scope of the industry the way that you're taught in seminar, then it'll be harder for you. So I would really say embrace it.
I felt really prepared, and I really accomplished, and I felt fulfilled that I was able to do research and write it out in a way that's professional. I had no clue that I would be able to do that. So it was really fulfilling in that way to know that I could do things that are hard academically and then put in the work and come out on the other side and feel like you did a good job. That was something that I really appreciated.
Knowing just how to analyze information that you're being presented with, knowing how to actually assess it, know if it's credible, if it's worthy of being, I guess, listened to. Like hearing that, learning that in AP seminar, I still apply that all the time, how many years after leaving the class. Like those are skills that I feel like no matter what you do after leaving high school, they can be applied somewhere. You're going to need them at some point.
I think, especially since a lot of seminar is kind of like self-driven, since you kind of design your research paper, your research project, you have to really approach and figure out the challenges kind of like without, you know, the handhold of a teacher, even though you were very helpful in, like, you know, getting us through. I think it was like you had to teach yourself how to, like, okay, I'm having an issue, I can't find a source for this, and then you have to you have to learn how to go through the different avenues to find sources for what you're trying to figure out. So it was, I think, definitely a lesson in problem solving.
I fought to stay in this course, and it was because of a reason, because I think the outside skill values that you get in life is more transformative than like what you take a lot of skills that you were mentioning earlier on and apply it to multiple avenues, because at the end of the day, it's capstone, it's research, you're critically thinking, you write the papers, but also the process in terms of how those papers are produced is what I'm able to carry over now in terms of thinking for myself, thinking critically about what I read, able to communicate that information in a confident way.
The AP capstone courses are absolutely worth it. If it's the workforce, if it's the military, if it's college, learning how to critically think is fundamental to being a human being. And AP Seminar and AP Research are courses that are specifically designed for you to be able to do those things.
And while other courses in high school are a bit fuzzy in my head, I can take out critical pieces from AP Capstone and still take it with me. And that's how meaningful Capstone was. But the life lessons and the skills that I've learned are like, it can take me far.
So I can give like a little bit more backstory. So I've always wanted to oh my gosh, I love studying disasters and like marginalized communities. Like it's always been with me, throughout my whole life. But it's always been something I've done outside of school. So while I was in high school, I was part of FEMA's National Youth Preparedness Council. And so that's what I would have to separate, my actual interests and passions from school. So being able to bring those interests into the same space actually made me love school. And
what you're doing is important, not just in the moment, but for the mindsets that you change in the students that you teach, and the skills that you give them, whether or not they get credit for it in college as an AP course, but the skills that they inherently may not remember or think that they are actually building it in AP Capstone.
But seeing how I built that argument, kind of did the research behind that and made something, just watching my presentation back and being able to share it with my family, I just felt really proud that I thought through something like that. I made it kind of from scratch. So seeing that I can produce a really intelligent kind of conversation and presentation like that, I was just really proud of that.
You don't really get to do that as much. So when you're in AP Seminar, if you keep an open mind, you'll gain a lot more out of that experience because you'll learn how to learn about things that aren't just given to you.
Capstone was one of my favorite classes. It was I had more autonomy in a lot of the things that I was doing, and so I could think about the different ideas, things that I valued, my skill sets, and think about hey, how do I want to really shape the things that I'm doing? What kinds of research am I interested in? What am I looking towards to do? And then so it gave me that kind of sense of autonomy, but then also at the same time it helped me build the skills that I whether that was collaboration or thinking about oh, how do I think about my research and shaping these different ideas together, putting things together. I think it was a really helpful class, and one that helped me develop like how I approach the kinds of education that I was getting, because it was like, it felt like it had a purpose. Like it felt like I was like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm doing this because it's school. Like it's like, oh, okay, like I'm doing classes, I'm doing school. It was like, this is applicable to like a broader things that I want to achieve, the broader things that I want to do for it. So I think the independent thinking part is what challenged me, but helped me the most in the long run.
There was a student who wanted to come to Georgetown and reached out to me and was like, oh, like, I know you went to Georgetown, do you have any advice for applying? And I think she was like a sophomore or junior at the time, and I was like, my biggest advice really is to take AP Seminar, take AP Research, because it prepared me so well for not feeling like I couldn't also succeed here.
I would say the skills from the course that have been most useful to me has definitely been my critical thinking skills, because that's kind of what, this course is all about. It's being able to look at sources or look at things in your life and analyzing them and evaluating them and trying to find why are these things happening.
Patience, working with people, that was a big one as part of the group activities that we had to do. And I really appreciated the research that we did for our own projects as well as with all the other team. It was a great guideline for us, whether it be in college, you're researching your new program or things that you're interested, or you're in the working field where you have to understand market, not only detailed information, but the broad overall perspective of different markets and stuff too. So that's something I learned a lot in seminar.
It doesn't matter what you do in undergrad or what you do post-undergrad. I'm sure at some point you're gonna have to do research, and exposure to it earlier is actually better.
And it wasn't until I started college and they had me writing papers, and I was like, a lot of what they're asking for is the same format that we had to write for capstone. And where everybody else was like struggling or like second guessing or like, oh, should I do this, should I do that? I'm like, why are we struggling? Because you already gave me the skills prior from when I had capstone to accomplish the task.
You learn these valuable skills that can be transferable to really anything that you do. Again, with presentation, public speaking, communication, research, you will need that in some form no matter what you do, but you also just learn other life skills that are good for anything outside of school, just personal matters as well. So you get a lot from the course. It's not just to get the grade or to just complete it for academic purposes.
I think if I had to say anything about AP Seminar that I haven't said already, it's that when you're in high school and you're concerned about AP courses, people take AP courses generally for two reasons: because they want to look good for some kind of application, or because they value the learning. There's a lot of the first one, and there's a good bit of the second one. When you take AP Seminar, or if you take AP Seminar, which I absolutely recommend you do, I want you to make sure you're enjoying the course for your own learning, because that's really what's most important.
I think that's probably the period of my life in which I grew the most. I was a completely different person at the start of the year than I was at the end. And I'm not sure how much of a role the class specifically played. And I don't know, I don't think this is going to be good for the interview, but specifically you were kind of like a mentor for me during that time. And so I guess having you as a teacher in my life during that point did help a lot with that growth.
Having that space and allowing for us to grow and make mistakes.
I would say maybe just how much I grew myself through capstone. I could see myself project from project improving, and I feel like that in itself was the biggest thing for me.
You gave me confidence, and then that confidence only grew. So I think sometimes kids might not get a lot of that at home. So when they're in school, excuse me, that's very important and crucial to their learning, their growth as an individual, and then especially excelling in this course.
I absolutely think this course was one of the better courses that I've taken, especially since it was in high school. Such a rigorous course, such a course that actually gives you skills that you will use in your future, especially in college?
I would definitely say it's worth it. The skills that I learned are invaluable. Even if I didn't continue in academia, even if I went like straight into the workforce, I think it's so valuable because it teaches you how to communicate, both through the word and also through speaking. It's skills you're not gonna really necessarily learn in other classes. So I think it was very much worth it.
I got out of it was like really valuable. I would say it was a great experience.
I was bringing more, instead of like kind of thinking about like, oh, the homework and like these are the things that I needed to do. It was more value in like the ideas that I brought and like and kind of just like bringing myself to the conversations and bringing my perspectives in those things and like being able to gauge those kinds of ideas. I think being able to do that was valuable.
Course is really great, and I'm so grateful that not only I benefited and my peers, but also people after me, like my sister. She is currently in this course, and it makes me happy knowing that like this course works. You know, you do gain these skills and you do apply them as you go off, and especially if you're going to higher education, and this needs to stay. Like,
I feel like just enjoy it, because I do miss, it's gonna sound so corny, but it's like I do miss the class a lot. Now that I'm in college, whenever I have like a writing assignment or like an essay, I do enjoy it more. Like ever since I took capstone, I've been enjoying like writing assignments or projects that are kind of like research based more than just sit down, watch a lecture, or like study, write up. Like I cannot just read a textbook just for it, just because I have a test. Like, but if I need to like read a book because I need to do a research about it, or I need to do like an essay based on, I will be like, okay, yeah, I can't wait to start. So yeah, just enjoy the time that you have in class, because you're probably gonna miss it.
Kind of, you grow as a person because you make those mistakes and you procrastinate, but you come out a lot stronger and with a stronger like research paper. So that space that you created, or that I guess my teacher created, just was a great experience. And it's so similar to my classes now that I think without that I wouldn't be as strong as I am now in my classes.
The capstone program has like brought a lot of value to my life, and like I feel like it's a very good program that can help a lot of people like figure out and navigate their lives. And like I really appreciate the ways in which like this capstone program has been built, and like I hope that like this program is able to like continue and grow and like reach so many more other people.
And also it's just like high school is not the end. It truly is the beginning of like everything else.
Such an enjoyable class. Well, going into it, everybody was talking about how stressful it would be and how much work it would be, but I had the time of my life.
I got a 2. Okay, so I got a 2 on my like AP research paper. I was, I think, for some period of time discouraged about like getting a 2, but like when I got into like undergrad and stuff, and they were starting to teach us like just like stuff for research and stuff, like how to like look up articles and like read like academic articles quickly and well. I was like, I already know how to do all this stuff, so I was like, I didn't feel like, I actually felt far in advance. I remember my freshman year, I felt like ahead of like a lot of the conversations that we were having, even though I didn't get like a 3 on the AP exam. And so even though that was like, I think that was an important project, because I look back on it and I feel like now like that I have like more the time, the space, the resources, I'm actually kind of doing that project again for my dissertation in a different context. So yeah, so I think like it definitely gave me the self-confidence. Yeah, it gave me self-confidence. And I came out of undergrad with 2 or 3 publications, so I was like, wait, like you know, I have the skills and I am a good like researcher, and I'm becoming a like, you know, scholar in my field. So, you know, I think that it was a pretty good like rebound story.
So, how about all those kids, right? I've watched this thing through a couple times now, and I had a whole thing that I was gonna say, and it's out the window because watching it just brings back a ton of memories. I hope one of the things I wanted was all of you guys to see your kids in here. That's what I wanted you to. Oh, the stories. Oh, procrastinate, whatever it happens to be. That was really important to me that you did that. Look, I just finished my 30th year teaching. And this is a time that people often consider the end of their professional career. This class is why my career won't end. In 2014, I was voluntold that I got to teach this brand new class called AP Seminar. For those of you who know, I had a great training at the Fontainebleau. For those of you who know, you know. And I had no idea. And it's been more than 10 years. I've had more than 500 students that have come through. The friends that I have made because of this, the experiences of how I've grown, those kids were transformed. But like David said, it transformed me. And again, I teach in Florida. And Florida has been challenging of late to teach in. And if it wasn't for this class, I don't know that I'd still be in the profession. So I just wanted to share that a little bit about me, but these guys want to say some stuff too.
Yeah, for me, I just finished my 25th year, but I spent a number of years outside of the classroom. And then in 2012, I was presented with this opportunity to be part of the Capstone program. And it pulled me back into the classroom, and I will remain there until I am retired. But as you saw in this video, Capstone creates meaningful opportunities for kids, especially kids like mine. The skills and the topics that are covered in here like levels the playing field for them. And I always feel like when they go to college, they are part of the conversation and just not looking out, you know. And the idea here is to make kids feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's what this program does. And it's really just changed everything for me being in the classroom.
Hi, I'm Troy. This is my 24th year in the classroom, and I think like the similar story. When David approached me with this, I had a moment and was like, "Ooh, what?" I don't know that and then as I thought about it, as I moved through the process, and it's been a year-long process. This happened almost exactly a year ago that I started thinking about this. My wife is very happy it's over. But as I started working through the process, I started to understand that this was like what David said, it was like this is a love song to Capstone. And for me, it's my 25th year teaching, and in about 2012, I was ready to leave the classroom. I'd had enough. I was disillusioned with public education in the DC area, in my county, which is a rather large county and lots of problems. And I just gone to Brazil on a global education trip, and I was reading things like Tony Wagner, the Global Achievement Camp, and I was like, this just isn't working. And then my principal said, "Hey, I got this thing. You want it?" And it had the word global. I said, "Yes." And I ended up in Miami, 2012, with Reagan and a handful of other people, Stephanie and Rachel. And it changed everything. You've told Tom not to cry, but I don't think it might be me. And it just changed everything for me. And my time in this program, working with my students over the years, I grew this from 15 students to over 200. It's just been magical. The friends I've met, like Tom said, the people that I interact with every single day make me want to be a better teacher. Like, it just means something. And so, I guess I am maybe just a little bit. Yeah. I'm supposed to be like, so I've said this 1,000 times, and people who know me know this, but I just have to sort of publicly thank the people that I hang out with, and the people who make me want to be a better teacher, and a lot of new people that I meet, and especially Rachel.
Hey, isn't there, Troy, wasn't there one more thing that we wanted to do? I thought there was one more thing.
Yeah, I think there's one more thing.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm so grateful that you put in the work to create this amazing, amazing course, because it's given me the skills to succeed in college. It's given me the confidence to write good papers, to write good research. and to conduct good research. And it's something that I want to keep pursuing even after I graduate. So thank you.
Thank you. I feel like this program has been really nice and it's so different from a lot of the different AP classes that have come out. And so to be able to—
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Rachel. This course, this capstone, has overall changed my life and my academic career. I've definitely seen a lot of changes, and so allowing for students to grow both as a person and academically has changed my life for the better. And
thank you.
Thank you for having this course and having the kind of people that you have teach this course. And also thank you for helping shape my mindset and a bunch of other people's mindset and giving them the resources to direct their own future in terms of like taking initiative and knowing when to push forth on an idea.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you for pushing students to that level, because it will help them out in the future, no matter what, no matter where they use it. Or
thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel.
Rachel.
I would just say thank you for giving me the opportunity to experience something different, because it was one of my more fun classes. I think I was taking a lot of like heavily like science and like AP physics or something like that. And so I really enjoyed doing capstone. So I would just say thank you for giving students the opportunity to dive into research earlier on.
Thank you. It's definitely something I still cherish to this day.
I would say thank you. Thank you for believing that high schoolers had the ability to understand and comprehend this course enough to actually, do it. And not only that, but to also gain the skills needed to be in the course and continue using those skills in the future.
I would say thank you. This course it really helped me. It really helped me come out of my shell a little bit more. It helps you learn new things that you didn't know about before. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Thank you for believing in 16 to 18-year-olds and their ability to think for themselves. I think that was that's empowering. We have so many other things going on. I think that allowing a space and allowing a class for us to push us to think for ourselves, I think is an invaluable skill that you need at every point in life. And so I know that that investment into me in AP Capstone, whether I ended up in graduate school or not, it would have stuck with me because I knew I could do it. So thank you for believing in 16 to 18-year-old Nylas. I appreciate it.